It is officially Tuesday, which means it's time for gear reviews. About a month ago, I bought this Boss 505 loop station. It's relatively new, came out at NAMM 2018, I believe. Now, I'm not as much of an audio gear genius as the rest of the awesome people at this channel like Ignacio and Cup and Kenny. I'm just a soul singer. I never really got much into the engineering and the signal flow and all that stuff, but I like to think I know how to break into a technology. So I'm gonna do my best to show this thing from the perspective of a total idiot. Let's try to make something cool with this. Now if you wanna kick it up a notch, much more high-powered camera. When you're shooting with this,
overlapping frequency ranges and just masking, it's an incredibly useful tool.
So, I didn't just purchase this thing blindly. I've actually used Boss looping before in the form of this little thing. This is a Boss RC3 loop station and it's pretty badass. I've used it to make some pretty cool stuff that I was happy with. Oh girl, we got tension, got trouble in you. Now the main differences between this thing and this thing is that this thing has 5 channels and this only has 1. Furthermore, you've got a lot more input options. We've got an XLR input, we've got several line inputs, you can monitor with headphones, and then we've got a MIDI input. And then obviously we've got 5 channels instead of 1, each of which has its own assignable input effects. So we can use effects like guitar to bass, flanger, delay, reverb, and then we can apply effects after recording to a channel with the master effects. Now I could break down every single feature of this thing by reading this here manual and then just kind of regurgitating it to you, but that's gonna make for a pretty boring video. So let's try to make something cool with this without really knowing anything about it. Now I find the best way to learn any hardware or software is to try to create something with it. Trying to use it for the purposes you actually need it for is going to lead you to the right questions, and then that's going to get you the right answers, and then you're going to be running smoothly with it in no time. So I've got a song in my head, and I know the first thing that I'm going to want to do is to set my tempo and my rhythm. I know that Boss loop products come with a number of preset rhythms. Now you can actually load your own rhythms, your own prepared drum loops and break beats and samples into this thing. But for the purposes of this review, I'm just gonna use the stock rhythm. So let's get ourselves a tempo. I have a song in mind that I wanna use, so. All right, 115, that's about right. So let's click edit on the rhythm. We can change the rhythm level, and then using these navigation buttons here, we can change to other settings. So this is the pattern. And this thing has a lot more patterns than the RC3. Very cool. I'm gonna go to this simple beat 2 just because it's all I need for now. We'll set the beats to 2 and change this to simple beat 2. All right, I think I got it how I want it. Very cool. Now, I want to lay down a bass line, but I only have a guitar, and I used to fake a bass line with a mixer and this thing. I would kind of crank up the bass on the EQ and lower the mids and the highs. Was able to get a pretty cool sound, but this thing comes with a lot of input effects. So it has the input effects here and then the track effects over here. And the input effects are basically effects that are applied to the instrument you're recording with as you're recording. Now, it also comes with a guitar to bass effect, which Boss is showing love to the loopers. They know what we want, and they're giving it to us. So this is what the guitar sounds like. And then this is with the guitar to bass effect. Now I want to record it to this first track here. So I'm going to hold down on edit for the first track, and on our screen we get a number of settings. Just like with the rhythm settings, I can cycle between these. I want to make sure that I have the right amount of measures. I think that's right, so let's go ahead and just give it a whirl. Very cool. Now, let's try to add some guitar. Okay, so now I want to track some guitar over the bridge section. I'm just playing around with the different effects here, and I come across this slicer effect, which does this. But it also comes with many different patterns, so I can do... This thing is crazy, dude. Pretty badass, dude. Okay, so in addition to the input effects, which can be assigned to different tracks, you can also have the track effects assigned to different tracks. So like if I press this track effects, then it shows all these lights blinking, which means it's applied to all of them. So I can use the edit button to have it only apply to one. Oh my god. So the track effects are even crazier. Okay, so I've got some, some guitar and some bass laid down. It's not like the craziest stuff ever, but it'll do for now just to kind of test this thing out. So what's cool about the input effects here is that you can apply effects directly to your tracks as they're coming into the Boss 505. But you can also apply effects later. So this allows you to apply as many as 2 effects to one track. Now there is a caveat here, which is that if I'm using one track effects to modify one of these tracks, I can't select 2 at once. So it's one or the other. But I can write tracks to this thing's memory, so I can basically record a performance of the effects I want, and then they're burned into the track. It's kind of like a 5-track recorder if you think about it, which is another cool feature of this thing. So let's get this mic struck up. I'm going to lower the instrument, raise the mic input. Hey! So let's apply some input effects here. Ooh. I'll write a novel. Okay, so I want to record a vocal, but I don't want too many effects on it because I want to have flexibility in what I do with it afterwards. So I'm just going to record it with a little bit of reverb on it. Let's change that to reverb. 2.8 seconds, I like that. I like those levels. And then we can adjust the actual, I believe we can adjust the dry wet mix here. Oh yeah. So I'm going to just bring it down. Very cool. Now let's play it. Oh, I'll write a novel about how this ends. It'll start from the day I found out about drugs and go downhill from then. It'll come with a bottle of pure LSD, and they'll make it into a movie starring somebody who lives and looks nothing like me. They say it's better love to burn out than live all alone. When the blockbuster wanders from home, it'll make lots of money. Bundles of cash. It'll make so much money. How about that? Alright, so now that we've got that vocal recorded, let's see if we can perform something with this that resembles something cool. So first, I want to make sure that I have my track effects at the ready in case I want to just play around and throw some things on there. So yeah, let's see how this sounds first.
I'll ride and move.
Oh my god, I can chop and screw this.
It'll come with bottles.
Oh. So here's what I'm getting out of this, right? I can play my vocal here, and as long as I've got B assigned only to this, then I can basically turn on B whenever I want an effect to hit this track, and then turn it off and change the effect, which should look something like this.
Oh, I'll write a novel about how this ends. It'll start from the day I found out about drugs and go downhill from then. It'll come with a bottle of pure LSD, and they'll make it into a movie starring somebody who lives and looks nothing like me. They say it's better love to burn out than live all alone. When the blockbuster wanders from home, it'll make lots of money. Bundles of cash. It'll make so much money. How about that?
That's pretty badass if you ask me. So I could spend all day on this thing, but I do have to get back to work making other cool videos for this channel and running the company, so I'm gonna give my summary judgment on this thing. This is a badass piece of equipment, dude! Not only do you have the input effects so you can really get down the performance that you want into each track, but then you can assign track effects live so you can perform a different mix of what you're doing. You have all the typical trappings of like a DJ or live loop set with the beat scatter, the beat shift. You have the roll effect. We've even got that octave effect, which is awesome, and all these effects are completely modifiable. Even the splicer has like 20 different patterns. Then you can write track effects to these tracks by bouncing them down using the internal memory. You can add your own rhythms to this thing, your own loops, and you can modify them with all the effects you have available. Like, there's a complete level of customizability here. And if you practice with this thing, you can definitely take your live performances up a notch. I could imagine doing a complete electronic performance with this. That's not to mention that you have MIDI in. So you can do all types of things with this. It's a very impressive piece of equipment. So the question is, will I be returning this or will I be using it? I'm going to use it. I'm gonna keep it. It's really worth the money. I think this thing retails at about $550 right now, and that price will probably drop over time. And for the amount of controllability you have with this, it's just worth it. You know, it's worth the money. Now this is for anyone who wants to take their live set up a notch. They want to book more gigs or get more attention without having to go the full band route. This thing will allow you to do a whole bunch of impressive stuff in front of your audience. But this is also a creative tool. Like, I could picture myself sitting down and using this for a full day and working out my own ideas. When I come up with song ideas, I usually have to pull in collaborators to make it even feel a little bit real. And I'm not that great of a guitarist, so I need a lot of time playing around with different melodies and hearing them back and hearing what they sound like with effects. And this looper affords me that creative ability. It allows me to basically play around with anything that might come up and then boil it down to what really, really works, come up with a way to strike that up very, very rapidly and then do it live or bring it into the studio. So when it comes to the Boss 505, this is a 10 out of 10 would recommend for anyone who does live performance, does their own songwriting, or just wants a new toy to play with. There's links below where you can pick this thing and this thing up. Now, as an aside, I have used the TC Helicon before, which is a very popular looper that might be in direct competition with something like the Boss 505. And I would say it's equally badass, right? It's just about which user interface you like best. I think this thing does a great job of keeping it simple. I really only have to look one place when I want to modify the settings for the tracks or the input effects or the rhythm. So the controls are really centralized. But the Helicons are great pieces of hardware too, so it's kind of hard to say which one is best for you. I've always liked Boss's products, their pedals. It's gonna be a yes for me, dog. With that said, I've been Circa for Full Stack Creative. thank you so much for watching this video. I hope it's helped you out a lot. And if you like this video, go ahead and subscribe right here. We release videos like this every single week, and it's gear reviews for audio and video, it's tutorials, it's everything you need to be a more efficient and more capable creator. And I hope that's what we've done here today. I'll see you in the next one.